welcome to A Paycheck Away, where we are doing a series of All Eyes on Virginia and talking to the 27 brave candidates who are running as Democrats in the deepest red parts of Virginia. And of course, we're calling them brave uh, because of what happened a few weeks ago when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And a lot of people were radicalized as a result. So these 27 candidates have truly put themselves out in the public eye in a very tough time. That something that they didn't sign up for months ago when they decided to run. So a very different world that we're in right now, and we're very glad that one of the candidates is here tonight. Makayla Venable, welcome to A Paycheck Away.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for running. So I think like the first question is always like, what made you want to get involved? What made you want to run?
So I have to say, I've always been a public servant and really big in my community. And it was just going around and listening to people talk and going to school board meetings and board of supervisor meetings and just listening to all these people who were elected. And we would bring issues to them and they would say, oh, well, we didn't know that that's what was going on, or we and I'm like, "How do you not know?" I'm like, "I'm not even elected, and I'm out here talking with everybody showing up," and it was just like, it's really time for change. A lot of people in our district don't feel seen or heard, and I realized that when I was out for the presidential election, when a lot of people were like, "Oh, we're just not gonna vote," and I'm like, "No, no, voting is important." So
Wow. Yeah. That's that's really why I was wondering about this earlier about why we see so many people run for office with an organizer background. And it just makes sense. You know, you're connected with the community, you know what they need and what they want, and lo and behold, they win. So it's really great to see you running. The what's the R plus in your district?
15.
R, okay, that's not bad. It's not bad at all. So, for the folks who may not know, R plus is wonky talk for how much the district voted for Republicans in the previous election. So, it could be 5 points, 10 points, it could be anything. And so, you said 15, right?
Mhm.
15. So, this is a very interesting time in American history where the the ruling party is just destroying America, and so I think like the bet is that all of these R pluses should drop drastically. What are you seeing on the trail that makes you think that might be happening?
Well, I would say, just going out door knocking and canvassing and just talking to a lot of people. We've had a lot of people who say, we're Republicans, but we're not Trump Republicans. And then we've had some people who were like, yeah, I voted for Trump, but I don't agree with the stuff that he's doing. And then a lot of it has just been, like I said, a lot of people just don't feel seen or heard. And I've been knocking on doors and even if we say, we don't agree on maybe abortion or LGBTQ rights or whatever, we agree on, public schooling, housing. So it's just finding that medium. And a lot of people have been like, I'm just happy that you came and talked and listened to me. You made me feel important. So
That's what's up. That's what being a public servant is. There's what you said reminds me of something that Thomas Jefferson said. It neither picks my pocket nor breaks my leg. And so often people get all out of sorts on issues that don't really impact them. LGBTQ issues, abortion, it doesn't impact people like in general on a widespread level.
right.
Republicans have taken that and really messaged like it does. Like there's people in your backyard having abortions or something like that. But no, it's really your neighbors cannot afford to put food on the table. You cannot afford
Right.
healthcare. So how are you seeing that message resonate? Or do you think you're going to have Republicans vote for you based on how Republicans have failed right now?
Well, I think for me, I've been seeing, especially like with the governor election, like with Winsome Sears, every ad is like trans, 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 trans. And so when I'm out talking with people, I'm like, name me two problems that you have in your life that's because of a trans person or an immigrant. And they're like, oh, they can't think of it. So I'm like, yeah, they're trying to make these issues seem like they're bigger than what they are so they don't have to focus on the issues that are really going to impact us.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, divide and conquer. And
yeah.
they're crushing it there. I've heard it put this way that LGBTQ folks are like 1% of the population. Muslims are like 1% of the population, Jewish people 1% of the population. Like these are not the 1% that are destroying America. There is a
Right.
clear 1% that is destroying America, and that's the billionaires. Um,
Exactly.
and one of those corporations is Dominion, in this Commonwealth. So what what are you hearing anything on the trail from people very upset with Dominion Energy?
Well, that was one of the first things that I really hit my opponent on because I knew just talking with some people that, they have issues with Dominion. And a little bit of my background is my grandmother was a secretary at the Salvation Army. And so, she talked to people, helped them get their electric bills paid. And I think once it came out that my opponent has taken like $35,000 from Dominion, people were like, oh no, that's not cool. That's not great. So, and mind you, I haven't taken any money from Dominion. So,
Nice. I like to joke that the whole reason why our Dominion energy prices are increasing is as politicians are getting more expensive to buy.
yeah.
This year, I think we faced a 14% increase. Next year is supposed to go up more, and that's because of what Congress voted on with the big brutal bill, amongst other costs, including groceries and healthcare going up because of all that. So, yeah, lots of issues that are kitchen table issues that are directly impacting folks. What are some of your tell us some like what are your favorite stories from the trail?
I think some of my favorite stories come from people who canvass with me because I was born and raised in Stanton, and they were like, we knock on a door and someone's like, "Oh yeah, we know Makayla. I was her teacher." Or so that's fun. People are like, "Oh, like you, you say you're really like community based, but you really are." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm like being for real." So that's been some of my favorites. We had one the only time and this I mean, she wasn't super rude. We had a lady who talked to me and, my friend Mary, who's my Spanberger, rep for my district, we go canvas together, and we talked to a lady for a while, and then at the end, she said, "Who are you with again?" And Mary said, "Spanberger," and she was like, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, you guys are on the wrong team." And I was like, "Oh, but we just had, like, a 20-minute conversation that was so great." So,
Huh.
that was fun.
Interesting. Interesting. Oh, and everybody, for those who just joined, we're with a candidate for House of Delegates, Makayla Venable. Uh, Feel free to spam the heart button so that the live goes to other people who are on Substack right now. And also put in the comments what state you're coming from. It can be a geographic state or a state of perpetual anxiety as well. Welcome to everyone. Welcome. And if you have a question for a candidate who's running for the House of Delegates, feel free to plug it into the chat, and we'll make sure we get that before Makayla. Now, Makayla, what are some of your priorities should you be elected?
We just had 3, Augusta Health is our hospital, and we just had 3 clinics close.
That's your area. Okay,
Yep, that's my area, yeah.
tell the viewers about this.
So yeah, we have, Augusta Health is our main hospital in my district, and so they have clinics in little neighboring cities like, Churchville, in these areas, and they just had to close those clinics down, um, in preparation for the big beautiful bill. And we also had already had, like, a shortage of doctors and nurses, and so people's wait times were already crazy, and now I just know that it's gonna get worse. And, we just opened a mobile clinic a couple months ago that goes out and services, the homeless or people who can't get to the hospital, and I just think that it's gonna get worse before it gets better, to be truthful. So and I think also it kinda speaks volumes that, like, me and Dr. Gina and, a couple young Dems from the area, we've all spoke out about it, but my, like, opponent, he hasn't said anything about it. Dr. Gina's opponent, he hasn't said anything about it. I'm just like, "This is something that's gonna hurt a lot of people."
Yep, yep. Your congressional representative is McGuire?
And so Ben Klein.
Ben Klein. Oh, even worse. So
Right.
That's really interesting. Now, has he been sending you emails defending his vote for the bill?
So he, actually I was in Lexington for the community day and he stopped there, and in Lexington, they had, like, a big board that said Ben Klein voted to, like, gut your Medicaid or Medicare, and he got upset and said that that wasn't true, but it's like, "You did." Um, I know when I went to Augusta Health and I met with the CEO and we talked, she actually was like, "I know a lot of you guys wrote letters and called Ben Klein, and I really appreciate you guys doing that. Even though things didn't go in our favor, I still appreciate you
Mhm.
doing that." And I was just like, "Oh," to hear that from the CEO is like,
Yeah, yeah, that's good. My congressional representative, Rob Whitman, voted for the bill, of course. And every week he's been sending emails defending his vote. And one of the big things that he's saying now is that this big, brutal bill is investing $50 billion into rural healthcare. And it's so ridiculous. He's peddling this because what he doesn't mention is the other shoe. Do you know what the other shoe is?
"What?"
That the big brutal bill cut like over $150 billion from rural healthcare.
Right.
So he's like, "Hey, we took away duct tape and we're giving you scotch tape." I'm like, no, not the same, not the same. So it's really important that everybody who's watching and it tells lets their friends and families and neighbors know like this is what's actually happening because a lot of people just don't know. So with the loss of three healthcare facilities, that's obviously gotta be drumming up some animosity, angst, anxiety? How are people responding?
Well, I've always said that we have to be truthful. And, sometimes I feel like the stuff that comes out of the other side's mouth, like you said, cutting that much money, but we could have had this much money. I'm just, even at the forums, I'm like, you can have your beliefs, but we have to speak facts. And I'm not for fear mongering. I hate that. Um, like, we were just at a forum and they brought up the constitutional amendment for women's reproductive rights. And my opponent and Gina's opponent kept trying to say, well, they're trying to do 9-month abortions. They're trying to do 9-month abortions. I'm just like, that's not at all what, no one's doing 9-month abortions. And I get so sick and tired of that. Like, things are already crazy. People are already scared, angry, all these emotions. And to just keep pushing fear on people, I'm just like, that's not okay.
Yeah, 100%, and
Have
Jan
your like I said, have your beliefs, if you believe abortion is bad, you believe abortion is bad, but don't push out, negative stuff like that, especially because of my background in healthcare. I understand that these decisions aren't easy decisions for people to make. And that's why I'm very big on that should be between a woman, her doctor, her family. Those are very personal decisions that we shouldn't have a say in.
but the government should not be inserting itself into that type of situation.
No.
And Gina and I had a great conversation about the specifics of that constitutional amendment, and that was really enlightening because I was in a town hall with a Republican delegate, and he couched the amendment as a 9-month abortion. And it's like, no, nobody's having abortions, like you said, at 9 months. It's a delivery. It's a C-section, it's a delivery, and it's horrific for everybody involved. There's so many variables, and Pete Buttigieg has explained it with such empathy. Like when you're in the eighth, ninth month of pregnancy, you've already like painted the nursery, assembled the crib, got in diapers. Maybe you've already had a baby shower, and now comes a very difficult moment where the fetus is not viable, the mother's health is at risk. Something terrible has happened, and now you're forcing the government in between the doctor and the patient, and it's just horrible. So,
And I
re-
think another thing too, that they forget to mention is the fact that in those situations where the fetus is maybe not viable anymore, you have to get confirmation from 3 doctors before they will even do that, and I know that from my background in healthcare, and my opponent was like, "No, it's 1." I said, "It's 3, it's gonna still be 3 with the constitutional amendment, I have the bill right here." So,
Mm,
yeah.
mm. Now you said your background is in healthcare, so the state assembly in Virginia is a part-time job. It pays maybe $17,000 a year. So what's your full-time job?
So I, work in home health, so my schedule's very flexible, they know I'm running for office, so I go where they need me to go when I can. So right now, my schedule is normally 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so, and because they understand just how important healthcare is, they're like, oh, well, we know that you're going to fight. So, whatever you need, we got you. So,
All right. I remember working, well, I used to work at Virginia Poverty Law Center, and there would be these massive lobby days from home healthcare workers. I think was it through SEIU? I don't know if you ever were involved with that, or was there a union that's
I don't know because my boss told me that she was like, yeah, hopefully we'll see you in January because we go every year for Medicaid and Medicare.
mm,
So I'm
yeah.
not sure.
No, there was a wonderful contingent from home healthcare workers, and it was great to see their presence and really like it shows the impact that people have on a state assembly. A lot of people don't even know that a state assembly exists. I'm pretty sure you're finding that out. And it's like just a few voices can really make all the difference.
Right.
One of your priorities you said was healthcare. What are some other issues you're top of mind?
I think because I just turned 30 and when I've been out talking with a lot of young people, it's the fact that a lot of them feel like they'll never be able to get out on their own or have their own home or leave their parents just because we have, you know, they make too much for maybe low income housing, but then luxury and affordable apartments aren't as affordable as we think. And so, that's why I really want to focus on, first time home buyer, really helping. I took a first time home buyers class just a couple years ago, and they really teach you a lot. And I think a lot of the issues is that education isn't pushed like it should be with just a lot of things, whether it's, Planned Parenthood or first time home buyers. There are groups that'll help you. People just don't know about it.
Right.
So that's why I think that's a big, for me, I'm very big on pushing education. Like, hey, you wanna maybe buy a home? I have a friend who does real estate and all that stuff, and she'll help you. I think a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are just feeling like helpless and hopeless right now. And for me, you know, running the campaign, I'm also like trying to give people hope. Like, no, you can one day afford a home. I'll help you at the state level when I'm elected, but also like there's local people who can help you. So I'm just really big on, like I said, community and connecting people with other people so that we can just move forward.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Stop having to just survive, and maybe we can actually live. That's we're joined by a candidate for House of Delegates in Virginia, Makayla Venable. For those who just joined, feel free to ask a question of Makayla and her run. She's running in an R+15 district, so it's a deep red area. And the projections are that Democrats are overperforming in every election the country, so it's very likely that this could move into the R plus single digits, maybe even flip. And what's interesting is that the government shutdown that's happening right now has an impact on every single person, and people don't even realize it. And one of the things is that the Republicans shut the government down because they won't uh, fund the healthcare subsidies that are going away next year. And Democrats are putting up a great fight, being like, "Hey, listen, we're not going to capitulate to your budget if you're taking away people's healthcare subsidies." What people may not realize is that that $1 trillion Medicaid cut that happened in the big beautiful bill has an impact on everybody. The $1 trillion isn't just going away; like it's got to come back somehow. And so that's
Right.
back through health insurance premiums for everybody, doubling, tripling. I mean, next year we're gonna have to spend tens of thousands of dollars extra should the Republicans not bring these healthcare subsidies back. And every single American who opens up healthcare.gov or their respective healthcare website on November 1st during open enrollment is gonna see those numbers. So if people in Stanton who haven't voted like during early voting yet see that before election day, they're gonna be wondering why. And so I think like maybe there's a possibility of doing a strategy of targeted ads between November 1 and the election day of, hey, did your health care costs go up? Here's why. And vote for Makayla.
Yeah, and I'm finding that a lot of people, don't care about things unless it's really directly gonna impact them, like, "Oh, it's bothering them. Okay, I don't care." Mm. That's a good idea, I'll have to write that down. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
That's
And
it.
then, like I said, with fear-mongering, then I saw what JD Vance said that, uh, the government shut down because Democrats wanna give, health insurance and health care to illegal immigrants, and I'm just like, "Oh, here we go."
And what's funny is that the GOP tweets out a screenshot of the bill and it says alien eligibility for health care. And they're like, see, it's in there. And it's like, not every immigrant is undocumented.
Exactly.
And so when you go to actually the meat of the bill, it actually just says like, these documented immigrants, whether they're from a Kofa nation or this or that, like they're all documented. So it's like, they're saying the quiet part out loud, where to them, every immigrant should not be here.
Right.
So we'll see how that translates into this election. What else, like, what have you learned about campaigning that you didn't?
Well, what I was gonna say, with it being a plus 15, if you really look at the numbers in our district, a lot of people don't vote in state or local elections because they don't care. And when I've been talking with a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, well, I never voted in a local or state election. I only vote in like the presidential." And I'm like, "Well, local and state impact you more than the presidential one." So we've turned out a lot of people. We've got a lot of people registered to vote. And like I said, we have people voting who just don't vote, and then people who just don't vote in local or state elections. And that's what I was, telling people, the numbers aren't accurate because we have a whole slew of people that don't vote. So,
That's really interesting. So this is going to be really interesting. Are you the first Democrat to run in the district?
no, I'm not the first Democrat to run. We've had a, a few others.
Successively?
No, no, never successful.
No, like I mean, not successfully, but like every election was there a Democrat in the House of Delegates race?
We've had some, yeah. So we've had some people run as Democrats, and then we've had those same people run as independents, and so
Okay, okay, okay. All right.
and I think this is like the first time it's been someone, I talked with Congresswoman McKellen, and her and I had a long conversation, and she told me that a lot of people wait until they're running for office to want to get involved in the community, and people are like, "Oh, you don't care, you just want our votes." So she said the fact that I've always been involved in the community before I even decided to run, that'll play a huge part because people will know, like, "Oh, no, she's serious. Not only does she walk the walk, but she talks the talk." And I think that a lot of people have, like I said, they've been like, "Oh, we're gonna vote for you." So I think, I'm bringing out uh, younger people, different marginalized groups who, like I said, in our area felt like they didn't matter, and I'm bringing them a lot of hope. So we'll see. I'm excited. Even if I don't win, I feel like we'll move the needle, and it's going to put us on the map. And then I'll just try again in 2 years.
That's what's up. That's awesome. Yeah, Rep. McClellan is absolutely right. And I think that's like I'm running for Congress over here, and what's resonating with a lot of people is that I'm standing on business, as the term would say. Like you've done the work to help people, and they see that, and they're like, yeah, we need more of that in the assembly or in Congress. So it's great that you've been involved. It's great you're kind of like a local celebrity just before you even start. And now it's like people are like, "This is the type of hero we need. This is the type of bravery and courage that we need, representing us." So, I mean, my hat's off to you. That's why I'm not wearing a hat right now. It's out. Now, if anybody has a question, we're in the final few minutes with Makayla. Feel free to type it in real quick. But, Makayla, what's it so like for people who are watching who may be thinking about running at some point? What would you say to them?
I would have to say the most important thing is your why and know your why because people will try to change your mind or tell you, oh, no, no, you shouldn't focus on that. Or no, 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 you need to focus on this or you need to do it my way. And uh, you have to remember the why you're doing it. Cause some days I'm not gonna lie, it gets so stressful, but then I'll knock a door and someone will be like, you're giving me hope, or I'll get a message like, I voted for you today, or um just something like that, like, you've always been so nice and you've always been so kind, and it's just remembering that at the end of the day, it's for the greater good. It's
Mhm.
for the community, it's for the people. I mean, I'm not some days it is stressful and it's just like, why am I even, bothering? But you really just have to have the heart for it, and you like I said, knowing your why so people cannot change your mind, and because people will try to influence you, and you just have to be strong and keep pushing.
Amen to that. Michaela is part of the Value Pack 27. So to the 22 viewers right now, if you Google, because Substack is terrible at putting a link in, if you Google Act Blue Value Pack 27, you'll see Michaela and 26 other amazing candidates for the House of Delegates. And this is a really easy way of just donating $10 and it gets split amongst the 27, or $200 and it gets split amongst the 27, and just helping them fund their campaign because unfortunately the state party is ignoring them. Now, what's really important to understand is that, oh, if you gave like $2 a candidate, you can't think, oh, it's only $2, because there have been hundreds of people who are donating to the Value Pack reset, and it is making a difference in a lot of these races. So, Michaela, you've received some of the money already. How has that helped your campaign?
We've been able to do more, we have 4 billboards about to come up, digital postcards, just being able to reach more people. We can't knock on every single door. So it's just helping us to be able to reach more people. And I also want to say to that, we are in a group chat together, and I think that it really speaks volume that, we're already like, here's, what I want to do. And then someone's like, oh, okay, well, I like that. And we're already working so that when we get to Richmond, we can just get the ball rolling. We already know we don't always agree on everything, of course not, but the key important things we do agree on. And the fact that we communicate every day, if I have a question, I can shoot it in the group and they'll all answer, and we're already supporting each other and we're not even in Richmond yet. And I think that that really speaks volume and that, we're really ready to get to work. We're already putting the work in now. So,
That's awesome. That's so cool. And did you ever think you'd ever say, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a billboard put up," let alone
n-
4?
no, no. And then, it's sometimes that, like, it's still just because I've always loved politics and like, in Buena Vista, uh, Abigail Spanberger was there, and she's like, "Hey, Michaela," and I was like, "Oh, you know me?" And she's like, "You're running, duh." And I think it's sometimes, and then I'll go somewhere and I'll see like Senator Kane. He's like, "Hey, Michaela," and I'm like, "Hey." It's sometimes it's still like so surreal. Like I'm sharing the stage with these people that I've watched on C-SPAN or that I followed their careers, and they know who I am, and that's crazy sometimes,
All politics is local.
right?
You are local. Um, I'll say this, when I was a lobbyist for working class folks, at VPLC, at Virginia Poverty Law Center, we were up against a bill that this was a Republican majority House and Senate. We were up against a bill from a Republican senator that said if somebody had received cash assistance from the state through the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, TANF, and they won the lottery within 5 years of having received that cash and that lottery winning was over $25,000, then they would have to repay what they got, cash benefits. Utterly stupid bill. Like, how many
Right.
does this actually impact, right? Like, not even one. And yet he was using the time of the state assembly and all the bureaucracy of it to focus on this non-issue. But of course, he's a Republican. It was a Republican majority, so it originated in the Senate. It passes the Senate. Then I'm like, listen, I'm going to be putting up a fight against this just so that I can put up a fight. And then when it was going through the House, it originates in a subcommittee. And I reached out to the coalition, and I was like, guys, here's the talking points. You got to call these subcommittee members and get them to vote no on it. And we go on the subcommittee. He puts the bill forward. I oppose it, and then they vote on it. And the makeup was 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats. The 3 Democrats, of course, vote against it. 3 of the Republicans vote for it, and then it's time for the final Republican delegate to vote, and he votes against it. As soon as he voted against it, the chair gavels, says the bill is dead, and the committee adjourns, like literally immediately at that point. The senator and I both audibly went, "What?" Because we did not expect that outcome. I thought his bill was going to pass. His thought his bill was going to pass. So I walk out of the room in a stupor. I'm like, "What just happened?" And the Republican who voted against it walks past me, and he's just like, he looks at me and goes, "They can't buy my vote." And what happened was, it turns out that he got like 5 phone calls from people telling him to not vote for the bill or to vote against it. And that's the power of the state assembly. And that's the power of people calling the state assembly members, because nobody knows they exist. So when a state
Right.
assembly person gets like 5 phone calls, that makes their day. So it's absolutely important that we stay involved in these local politics, to really make an impact on our own lives. Like you said, voting in the local and state elections has more impact than a presidential election.
And too, and I think, I'm not running a smear campaign. So I think when the question comes up, what makes you different than your opponent? Well, my opponent votes 93% with their party. And I'm like, for me, I'm always going to put the people before the party. And so if a Republican wants to make a bill that would help the people in my district, I'm not going to be like, no, because they're a Republican. So I think, we're kind of missing a little bit more of bipartisanship. I feel like people have just been starting to be like so super loyal to their party
Mm,
and forgetting that, it's about the people at the end of the day. So,
yeah, yeah. And speaking of end of the day, we'll wrap it up here. And the last question, Michaela, is, what's your favorite movie?
oh, my favorite, still Magnolias. I love that movie. I feel like that's a very generic answer, but I just love that
No one's
movie.
ever said it. In fact,
Really?
I haven't said those 2 words in my head ever, like in 20 years.
But my favorite all-time movie is Talladega Nights because 'cause I'm a big Will Ferrell fan, but that's my favorite movie. But still Magnolias is up there too.
Nice, cool.
I'm a big comedy fan.
I have never seen Steel Magnolias. I'll have to look it up.
Um, yeah, it's a classic, you have to watch that.
All right, cool.
You'll
Well,
cry.
oh, it's not a comedy?
No, no, no.
Oh, sounds.
So it has what, Dolly Parton, Julia Roberts, Sally Fields, and all of them in it. It's really good though. I mean, it has funny parts, but it's not it's a feel-good movie.
I cry every day, Michaela. I don't need to be crying more.
I feel you on that.
Yeah. Well, Michaela, thank you for your time. Thanks for taking time out of your work night, and your campaign to talk with
I
us.
wanna say that's funny too when I'm out campaigning. I'm like, "Oh, well, I have to, go to work," and people are like, "You still work?" I'm like, "Yeah, I still work. I'm a regular person." And I think that's people are like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yeah, delegates don't make that much money." But
No, no, you got to be independently
I
wealthy.
make more money I make more money now than I would as a delegate, so
Yeah, yeah. It's a weird scenario, especially with Virginia being one of the top economies in the world, not just in the country, in the world. And we have a part-time legislative assembly that like crams the budget into like 3 months every other year. This is wild.
yeah.
But Michaela, thank you so much. Michaela, Venable is winnable, I want to say, in just a matter of weeks as the election approaches. So make sure you Google Act Blue Value Pack 27 and donate a couple bucks. Really, this is just a couple bucks. And that will be a part of so many other folks donating a couple bucks that helps people like Makayla put up billboards, reach more voters, and every single vote counts. Every single opportunity to move the needle and invest in that future win, if not today, then definitely tomorrow, because that's how we need to be playing this game. This is chess. This is not checkers. It's all about building up to the inevitable and eventual flip, which will happen with your small dollars and with people like Makayla running. So thanks again, Makayla, for taking time and joining us on A Paycheck Away. Good night.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye now.